Welcome to Lawyers Who Learn, where we explore how attorneys' engagement in lifelong learning fuels their growth. Join us to uncover these journeys and gain insights for your legal career.
Angelica, I can't be more excited to have you on Lawyers Who Learn because you are one of the most avid learners that I know, especially at Lawline. So thanks for taking the time to be on here.
Thank you for the invitation. I'm really happy to be here today.
So you're the VP of Learning Solutions at Lawline, which means you run a very large team that focuses on creating over 400 hours of amazing continuing legal education content every year. And not only that, you are focusing on learning solutions for large and mid-sized firms to not only help them teach CLE, but get accreditation services and also get unlimited access to different parts of the catalog for what they need. So you do a lot, and that just only names part of it. Um, but I want to start a little bit at the beginning, um, because I think you have a really interesting, unique story about how you've 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 used learning throughout your life to open up new doors. And I think there's a lot of people, and what I've been sharing with guests is instead of thinking about they in a big group, I try to think about one person who could be listening to this who also feels like they need to open up doors, and is not sure how to go about that. And my hope is during this conversation, you will share some things you had to learn or that you learned after you open up the doors or what you did so it can inspire or empower somebody else to do, to take the action and to learn through that process. So, let's start at your childhood, I guess, if that's okay.
Yeah, thank you for setting that up and making me sound so great too. As the
No,
lady.
it's not hard at all.
Mm, Yeah, I grew up like very humble beginnings, right? Like my grew up with working class parents who instilled in me the importance of education from a very, very early age, which I think I took that and embraced it, and I think from that came my love of learning. My grandparents came over to Brooklyn from Puerto Rico. They had second grade educations. My parents were the next generation. They both were the only one of their siblings to graduate from high school. And so their dream was like for every generation to be, to achieve more than the one before. And so education was kind of like the path forward for us. And so I always knew, like, as a kid, I didn't even know exactly what I wanted to be, but I knew like I want to go to college. Like that was my goal. Uh, And so, you know, very early on, like when I was a teenager, I was enrolled in this academic enrichment program called the Teague Fellowship that helped me go to a top private school in New York City. No one at my like middle school in Brooklyn had no idea what the name of the school that I was going to or anything. Like all, I think that was probably the first of the opening of doors.
Can I pause you there? Because
Yeah,
that's
sure.
that's super interesting. How did that opportunity happen?
You know, um, I always worked really hard in school. So, I went to public schools, a good school in gifted program in Park Slope, Brooklyn. And one day,
Shout out to Park Slope.
yeah, definitely. One day my guidance counselor called me in his office and it's like, at this point I was like 12, 13. Like, hey, there's this program. It's new. It can help, you know, gifted kids open new opportunities for them. Brought it home to my parents. We had no idea what it was, but it was like wow, like this program is willing to take a chance on us. Why not? Like there really was nothing to lose from it. So I applied and was accepted, and I learned so much from it. Like they took us to plays. I'd never been to a Broadway play in my life. It was like a whole new world. So I learned. We took music classes. Like it opened my eyes to different cultural opportunities. They gave me extra math and writing classes so that I could get into the top schools in the city. So that's kind of how all of that happened.
Well, I love that, and I would say, it's interesting because somebody believed in you, and like you said, I'm sure, you did have to learn through that process, and you were only 12 or 13, and that obviously shaped the course of your life. Cool. So let's continue that journey. And when you speak, can you just speak a little bit louder with energy, just so for those who are listening with headphones on the podcast, they can really get a sense of this journey that you're going on.
Yes, absolutely. If you need me,
You're
jump in
good.
if you need me to talk
Okay.
louder.
Cool.
Um,
Like this. I'll go like this.
okay. So that was really the beginning of it, and when the school, by the way, I want to go to Spence School, which is a public school, a private school on Upper East Side of Manhattan. It's like a world away, probably like 3 train rides away, still in the city, but it felt like a world away. Um,
So you tell me about what did you learn from going from that experience, from going a world away in both distance and probably experience?
uh, that experience, it had its challenges, but it also opened my eyes in so many ways to just the different ways that people lived, different neighborhoods, different opportunities, different schools that were out there. That's when I learned about all the colleges that were out there outside of the city, and people traveled for the summer. Like, it just opened up my eyes to all the possibilities that were out there. So I think that was like the biggest thing that I got from that experience.
And how okay, let's continue.
Um,
So you're in Spence. You opened up the door there,
yeah.
and um and I'm sure reflecting maybe, somebody, even let's just think about, because I like this, is we're talking about attorneys, but attorneys also have children, right? I have children. We have kids who are also looking for opportunities to open up doors. And obviously you're not an expert in this area, but correct me if I'm wrong, do gifted programs still exist these days? Are these, like, how would one, I don't know if you even know the answer to this, but uh, since this came to you, is someone trying to seek this out? Obviously, there's a lot of opportunities still that are there.
Mhm.
Uh, so I don't know. I just didn't know if you had any insight on what's happening right now, and if you don't, we can continue going. But I just wanted to see if there was any insights for anybody thinking about this for their children right now.
Yeah. I mean, what I can tell you is there are lots of New York City is a big city, so there's lots of students. There are lots of students, but also lots of opportunities for students. This particular program, the Teague Fellowship, since like graduating and becoming an alumna, I've served as a mentor to other students. I've served on their board. I was the first alum to serve on their board of directors. Uh, so there's lots of ways to give back, and these
You
programs
were the
still
first
exist
alum to serve on the board of directors of Spence,
of the Teague Fellowship.
the Teague Fellowship. And when did you do that?
Uh, Probably 2015 to 2017.
All right. So I'll circle back to that because I
Yeah.
want to stay on the path of this story. So
Yeah.
tell me where you see the next door that you had to uh, that you opened up through, and what you learned through that, or what you had to learn to get to that process, that part.
Yeah. I mean, it was challenging, There weren't, not everyone believed in me at the school. I was told I shouldn't apply to certain schools, just because of like my financial background. Uh, but I had the Teague Fellowship. I had my own community, so I didn't let that stop me. I wound up applying to and getting into Amherst College, like the number one liberal arts college, at least at the time. So that was the first, and like no one in my family had gone to college or gone even away
I
out of.
know this. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Say I know this story and I'm getting chills as you're saying it. Like, because I've never heard it in this description. So I interrupted as you were saying that, which
Yeah, I mean it was hard. But there's always people. Like there's challenges, but then there are always allies too. There are always people who like understand you and stick up for you. I remember and we're still in touch today, but I had an advisor at Spence. Her name's Selena Pimentel. She was an advisor. She was also a Spanish teacher at the school, and similar to, like, she was Puerto Rican too. She was really like a role model for me, someone that I looked up to, who like kind of I could relate to. And I remember going to her and telling her, "Oh, it was like so and so said I shouldn't apply and she like she like believed in me. It's like, you don't let anything stop you, and she advocated for me too. So like that's important too, like finding those people that are there for you and talking about it too, so that you can overcome those obstacles.
what are some thoughts about I like that finding advocates for
Yeah,
you. Um, it can apply whether going to college or anywhere else.
right.
What if there is somebody who is trying to open up a door right now, what are some thoughts on like how to find the right advocate to help them open up, whether it's going to a new practice area, whether it's leaving their job, whether it's getting to graduate school or something else. Any insights from what you learned about that process?
Like I think it goes both ways, having been that person who had mentors and then more recently trying to serve as a mentor myself in different capacities. Is keep your eyes open. There are those people that ask you how you're doing, right? That like they take an interest in you. They um more than just passing by, right? They show that extra kindness. And so like I would say keep an eye open for those people and ask questions, like get to know them a little bit, like stop by and say hello and try, if you're the person seeking a mentor, to try and open up those avenues. And the people that want to help, I found, have often said it. Like I've everywhere I've gone, whether it's like a law school internship or um, in a law firm capacity, there's always been someone who I wound up working with somehow, or like, you just kind of feel that connection. And they said, like, hey, like, I'd love to take you out for lunch one day, or I'd love this. And then you latch onto that. And there are those are people now who I'm friends with, but who wound up being people who wrote letters of recommendation for me or served as references. And so for anyone who's looking to open that door, the way you do it is by like expressing it, like,
Yeah.
just saying to that person, like, hey, like, if you have any questions, let me know. Take them out to coffee, take them out for lunch. And it means so much.
Wow. All right. So you're in Amherst,
Hmm.
and tell me the next door that you think is worth sharing. Is it law school? Was there something at Amherst where you had to learn something or learn after you opened the door?
Yeah, I mean, thankfully for me, Amherst after Spence was not as huge a culture shock. Um, but one thing I learned more about during Amherst was travel, and that was something I like never really done before. And I spent a semester abroad in Italy. I got to travel all throughout Europe. I spent a semester in Brazil. I got to go to Argentina, Uruguay, Paraguay, all different parts of Brazil. Like never would have happened like if I didn't go to Amherst or like, kind of take this journey.
Yeah.
Um and again, like learning, right? I met alums who came to the school who were attorneys who I was like, "Oh, wow, this is a path. Like this is a thing that I can actually do. It's not something you see on TV. It's not a dream. Like these are real people who went to Amherst and now they're doing really amazing things in their life."
Wow. All right. So let's talk about the next door then.
Yeah. So I guess like junior, senior year of college, I was really involved in a lot of leadership groups, affinity groups at school, really like in social activism, and started to think like what do I want to do? And I knew that I wanted to affect change. And so I started thinking more about law school. So I became a paralegal first after college, which was amazing. I wound up working as a paralegal in the civil rights division of DOJ, doing voting rights work. And like again, like I got to travel different parts of the country doing investigations, helping enforce voting rights laws. Um, and it was just so powerful. It's like, wow, like lawyers can make change that helps thousands of people. Like this is like a real way to like make large scale change. So seeing that and seeing the attorneys, that kind of it just like enforced for me the idea, okay, law school is where I want to go. So that was the next
Yeah.
door.
And so obviously you already exceeded expectations by going to college. Just out of curiosity, when you made the decision and then applied and got in to school, and where did you end up going?
I went to Columbia Law School, which was like wild. Like
Yeah.
for
You,
me, still like kid from like who like, it was kind of like those who would have thunk stories. Um, yeah, obviously my family so like was so proud of me and still is like even today I hear sometimes like even recently I was out with my dad somewhere and I heard him telling someone like, she passed the bar. JFK Jr. didn't even pass the bar. Like brag, like they're literally bragging to like everyone they know.
wow. Um,
Which he
I,
passed the bar.
I think the sixth time. But okay, so you're in law school, and obviously we've all lawyers who are part of this program or went through law school. Um, you graduate, you get to graduation. How did you decide on what career you would go into? Was it who said yes? Was it something else? And what did you learn in that process?
Yeah, it's funny. I knew like civil rights law, and that was kind of my passion, and that was what I pursued while I was at law school too. Like I was the co-chair of Columbia's Civil Rights Law Society. I was on the Journal of Gender and Law. So all things in that vein. I was in a clinic called Prisoners and Families Clinic, like where we represented imprisoned women who were in danger of losing their parental rights. So everything I did was kind of in the public interest vein. And that's the direction I took after law school too. Like I knew that was what I wanted to do. And after law school, I worked at two different firms representing employees, either employees who were discriminated against, protected classes and representing workers too and fighting for workers' rights. And, it's a lot of fun, right? Doing something you're passionate about and helping others. And I think that that's still where I am today, right? Like, even though I'm not practicing law, I'm still very passionate about learning and education. Every day we're helping attorneys in their work so that they can represent others. Like, what's better than that, really?
And I'll take it a step further. You're not just helping create content. You've spoken at ACLEA, which is an industry conference, Association Continuing Legal Education, I think.
Yeah.
You've
Yeah.
spoken several times on areas of belonging and diversity, equity, inclusion. So tell us a little bit about that door you opened.
Yeah. And I think it started like during my time at Lawline, like really advocating to create DEI content. And we've grown that so much in the last few years. And I think really being leaders and, creating the Lawline DEI Institute. And, we are leaders in how we educate the legal community about bringing diversity to the profession and raising it, you know, to the ideals that it should be. And I've been talking about that too at ACLEA. We talk about last year I spoke on a panel about, you know, some
Is that DEI still a thing, right? It was something about how does DEI, uh, what's like, wasn't there, correct me if I'm wrong, and I could be,
yeah.
there's some backlash or some pushback, and how to handle what's
That's
happening.
exactly what it was. Like what CLE providers and those in the CLE industry can do in the face of some, recent decisions around DEI. And then most recently, I spoke on a panel about belonging and what that means for us in the CLE industry and like internally, and also our role as educators and what we can do to make sure that we're educating the legal community about these issues. So, I've kind of carried that with me everywhere I go.
I want to cover two more topics, and then I'll let you go. Maybe two,
Sure.
maybe three. Let's see. So, well, we're talking about Aclio, so just to end on this note, you recently, and depending on when this airs, might not be recently, but tell us about the most recent door that you just opened and how that went.
Yeah. So I actually just found out yesterday that I was selected to serve on ACLEA's executive committee, which I'm so excited about. I like really am honored to serve and that, my work is valued as, I've served as programming co-chair. We just talked about the various presentations I've done. I'm co-chair of ACLEA's EDI committee, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Committee, and now I'll get to serve on the executive committee for the next 2 years, helping to foster community around the CLE industry and hopefully, you know, getting to do some exciting new things too.
Well, if there's one theme that I see in the doors that get opened, it's also those around you recognizing, wanting to pull you through that door because of who you are. And even as I hear all this, and I know how lucky I am to work with you, but it just reinforces that. So, yeah, I don't know. I think just hearing your story, I think will help that one person I have, whoever, like, I can think of, who might be in similar situations or trying to open up doors. It's letting him or her know that people people see what you're doing
Yeah.
and just keep moving that forward. Okay, so the next, I guess the last thing to talk about, and I don't know if any topics you want to talk about that I didn't cover, I'll give you an opportunity as well. So you started as a program attorney at at Lawline, which meant you were the ones who were working with the faculty, helping them create the content and finding them and putting on the catalog. And then you became the director of programming, where you were managing the team, I think potentially booking at some point, but then you stopped being part of that and just helping manage the process and making, helping us put together content. Then in the past 12 months, your role has shifted. And we actually renamed the function from programs to learning solutions. So tell us a little bit about what that has been like over the past, what it shifted to, and what have you learned? And I think I see there's probably a dog next to you.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's all right. Dogs are
Um,
dogs.
All right. Do you want me to pause for a minute?
Oh, keep going. Keep going.
Okay.
You don't even have to edit that. This is just a podcast. Don't worry. Keep
All
going.
right.
Don't worry about
So,
editing this. Let's just keep going.
it's been a really fantastic journey. Like, I started at Lawline in 2015 as a program attorney. And what drew me was still getting to learn every day, still getting to learn about the law, meet new people, new attorneys every day. And, anything I do, like, I want to do it the best of my ability and work really hard and just work really hard. So that's what I've done. And I'm really happy and grateful that people have seen that hard work and that I've been able to grow over time. Like you said, lead program attorney, director of content, now in my current role. And, I saw we had an opportunity, in the company. I think we are in such a great place where there's still so much room for us to grow. And I wanted to be a part of that. And so this last 12 months in this new role, I literally am learning something new every single day.
And what does it mean in your new role? Because so you explain in, just briefly what VP of Learning Solutions is.
Yeah. So I guess since I'm in my current role, I am providing sort of strategic oversight of the CLE content and programming that we're creating, and also driving the company forward in terms of our organizational partnerships with firms of all sizes, government agencies, other organizations, and thinking critically about the learning solutions that we can develop to help solve an organization's learning needs. So it's
Well done. That was a lot to get there. You did it
there we go.
perfectly.
Yeah.
What is the most recent thing or the biggest thing or aha moment from the past 12 months that you learned doing this transition? Or you're still learning, I should say, either or.
In some ways I've realized how much I don't know. There's always something more to learn. And going to law school, that's sort of one whole way of thinking. And in this role, I get to bring that with me, but I'm also learning a lot about relationship building and connecting with others and picking other people's brains too, and how to do that. So I think that's where I am. Like, wow, there's still so much more to learn.
Angelica, I can't tell. You go in knowing somebody for a long time and you're like, okay, what am I going to learn new, or how am I going to learn it? And the impact that I felt from your story of how you've opened up doors and the doors have opened, I will take with me. And I know anyone who takes the time to listen to this will feel that as well. And so I'll just throw it to you, and the answer could be no, but I just want to make sure. Is there anything that we didn't cover that you think we should have covered? Or is there any questions that you have for me that, any questions you have for me about opening doors or any areas like that I think would be of value? And the answer could be no, but I want to make sure I cover that. 'Cause I'm pretty good about
I see you and learn a lot from you every day too, David. And I think one thing I've learned from you is like the power of vulnerability too, the power of sharing, and the power of connecting with others too, which I think you do a lot. EO and YPO and all of these things. So I guess what I'm getting at is, what advice would you give, like, to someone like me who wants to open doors for others and, continue to learn from others? What advice would you give about how to do that, how to open doors?
It's interesting. I live in these two worlds because on one hand, um, I had a different upbringing than you. We both grew up in Park Slope, by the way, and I had a different upbringing than you in that my dad actually was my grandmother was first generation in the U.S. on my dad's side, and his dad died when he was 7 years old, and he had older siblings who were out of the house, and they had no money, they had nothing, and she worked as a furrier, and so it's interesting. And he was the first of all his siblings to go. I think even in college, but definitely law school. And it's so interesting to see, like, so it's just, I get, because you're my dad, right? You're that first generation
Yeah.
to go
Years
through that.
ago, by the way, at one of our winter gatherings, your dad was there and he was at our table. And I remember talking about that with him. And I really felt like I connected with him. And I think he also mentioned he might have been a taxi driver or something
Yeah, no,
at some point.
he barely got into New York Law School, and in order, and I remember, like, and he's told stories about it. It wasn't the what you got, where your family was happy for you. I think everybody was not happy. Like, they were just jealous and whatever. And so he ended up
Yeah.
paying for it and things like that. And so I bring all, and then he became a personal injury attorney. He wanted to work at a big firm, but he couldn't get a job at a big firm. And it was in a different way back then. Many Jewish attorneys ended up in personal injury because they couldn't get jobs at white Jewish firms. And this whole industry ended up getting started. So, like, in a way, a door wasn't open, but opened up a new, like, just how it is, right? Like, one door.
Yeah.
And one thing that I was always great to hear as a child, what he said, and you don't hear this often from personal injury attorneys, that he loved his job. And the reason he loved his job is because he looked at himself as Robin Hood, getting money from the rich insurance companies and giving it to his clients, who were generally very poor and needed that. And so, and I say all that because my dad's and my mom, who recently passed away, there, and she was a public school teacher. And it's relevant because she was a public school teacher in Brooklyn. And it was really, I don't remember this moment, but it was a really tough school from a teaching wise. And she had a lot of challenges in the public education school teacher educational system as a teacher. And she saw a lot of things that she didn't like. And because of what education brought my dad, and because of what my mom sort of went through, it was similar to you. It was very important for my family for us to be educated. So very early on, like, they just saved up for us for school and put that away because, thankfully they were able to do that. And my mom decided when I was young, because of whatever experience she had, she wanted me to go to private school. And that's how my sister and I ended up in private school. And they paid for it. So, like, it was, it's a completely different story and situation. I feel so grateful for that experience, and throughout that, and then college, and then law school. All my dad ever wanted me to do was go to law school. But it wasn't something that I sought after when I graduated college. And I think 6 years later, after like my third or fourth sales job, I realized I wanted a career, and I decided to go to law school after studying for the bar, studying, taking the LSATs. And again, somebody who came from nothing and built it up, they had saved up money to help pay for it. And so like, I, it's hard. That's why like, on two, you said being vulnerable, like just sharing all that, like it's hard for me to say that, like when I recognize most people don't have that story. At the same time, it doesn't take away who I am and what I've done and how I've opened up doors for myself and for other people, because you take that and you can move there. But I do recognize it is something that is important to me, and I haven't been able to really tackle this yet, nor has anyone. But like I struggle, and this is not what you're asking me, and this is probably a different episode, so I'll leave it here. But I struggle with the cost of education now, both
Yeah.
in uh, undergrad and then law school, and the ROI that you get in today's world. When we grew up, it was 100% necessary evil that you needed. Today, because the costs have completely shifted from education, from inflation, college is so expensive, law schools, and the challenge is if you're not a lawyer or whatever, like I don't know, it's just a debt that you walk away with from both. If you have to ride, it's just a really challenging thing. And I'll just bring it all in one circle. That is what I love about Lawline. We provide an amazing value for very, very low cost. And in 2000, I don't know, 12 or 14, a long time ago, we changed the name of the parent company to Further Ed. One, because we wanted to expand into other areas, but the other was like, I just wanted to help further people's education beyond just where they are. And that's why Lawyers Who Learn is here and what I'm passionate about. And so I guess I would say like, what can we all do as a society and as educators? And it's going to happen just when it's like this, the ridiculous. I mean, obviously there's lower, you don't have to go to Columbia or GW or Amherst or New York Law School. There's state schools and there's less expensive schools, there's community colleges. But in general, that's where I think about what is the ROI you can get from the courses you can get. And obviously, like, I just wonder, like, of course, with AI right now, if I can hit a magic button and know everything that's on a law line, all 2,000 courses, can you imagine? And by the way, that's why we're so excited for what AI can bring to education and to us. So I don't know how I got to that conversation, but that's why I've added that into the podcast, because you never know where a question can lead. And I think that was if anything, helpful for me and cathartic.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I feel like you're saying you're opening doors by educating, right? And like making sure education's more accessible.
By at a minimum, totally, 100%. Yes. And I think you never like the status quo, and we're always trying to figure out how to make it better. And we get down on ourselves because we can't make it better fast enough. But cool. Yeah, I think that's a good way to end. And so, yeah, I think this was, for maybe for both of us, a little bit emotional going down. And so I thank you for taking your time to do this. And this was a really enjoyable experience. So awesome. I'll see you soon.
All right. Thank you. Thank you too, Daniel. Bye, guys.